Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, George Washington said, "We are a nation of laws and not of men." Why? Why does that matter? Tonight, more than ever, and tonight you'll understand why. Come on. Well, hello, America. Those racist cops were at it again yesterday. In New York, after the failed car bombing, they were just randomly frisking people and patting them down with no rhyme, no reason whatsoever. They're just looking for people who were slightly different than you or them. When, miraculously, they were able to apprehend the bomber, the 30-year-old Faisal Shahad, who was on a plane getting ready to leave for Dubai. It was weird. It was almost like our police knew exactly what they were doing, and they were doing a good job not being racist. Of course, that's fantasy land, especially when you listen to Mayor Bloomberg on his hot tip yesterday on the bomber.
Homegrown, maybe a mentally deranged person or somebody with a political agenda that doesn't like the health care bill or something. It could be anything.
Of course. Now that's darn fine detective work, Mayor. Could be anything. You're right. Could be a deranged Tea Party goer. Somebody against Obama and his health care. Elementary, my dear Watson. You should be our next Attorney General. You are brilliant, sir. Who didn't know? Who didn't know? Who didn't know this guy, who he was, what he was doing? You knew. The New York cops knew. The FBI knew. Everybody, the guy at the hot dog stand knew. Everybody in their job did their job and did it the way it was supposed to be done, not in a racist way. This was our system working. It also makes a case to make sure that the people that are coming to America come the right way, through the front door, not illegally. You know how we found this guy? Do you know how we found him? It's great. This guy actually came through the front door. He's a naturalized citizen, a Pakistani American. How do you think we knew who he was? Because he came here legally. We knew his name. We knew where he lived. We had a picture of him. We had his fingerprints. Hello? Because we didn't have him run across the border. Bad guy in, but at least we found him. Look, you and I both know there are crazies everywhere. There are citizens who are nuts. There are non-citizens who are nuts. But when you first heard somebody had parked a car loaded with explosives near the area where people were enjoying a show with their families, with their children, did you think that was somebody who was upset with Obama? Or maybe the mark of even a bigger monster than just the run-of-the-mill nut job who intentionally bombs children? Okay, now this is where it gets tough. I was on Fox and Friends this morning, and Brian Kilby, who I love, goes all Jack Bauer on me. You know, I swear he's got nipple clips in his pocket ready to, let's put them on the nipples and plug it into the light socket. I mean, really. And he says, what are we going to do with this guy? He's a danger. Okay. As much as I want to say, and it's easy to say, and it feels good, and I really do, let's call Jack Bauer. You know, hook him up to the lamps. Don't get me wrong. There are times, if I think the nuclear weapon is going to go off in New York City and we've got an hour, I'm hooking the nipple clamps up on somebody. If I think that actually will make him talk, otherwise 8 million people die, I think I'm going to do that. The underpants bomber, that guy's not a citizen. He's a terrorist, not a citizen. I don't have a problem if somebody right now happens to have a wet towel and a big glass of water next to him. However, this dirtbag is a Times Square bomber citizen. A citizen. I'm sorry, as much as everybody on the left says, we're all citizens of the world. Shut up with that. Citizens of the United States. If you're a citizen of the United States, it's worth something. That's why we don't like to give it away for free. You're entitled to rights. Not the same rights that a foreign combatant is entitled to. No. Some people are probably screaming at their TV right now, and here's what I'd like to say to you. This is when your values really count. It's easy to follow the Constitution when you benefit from it or you're not affected by it. But what happens when you go against what you want to do? When you want to strap this guy down to the rack and make him talk, but you don't because it violates the Constitution. That's what makes this country different. That's why we're not Egypt. They'll do that to their citizens. We don't. The Constitution is tough when it gets in the way. What does Nancy Pelosi say? Oh, yeah, we'll just jump over the fence or pole vault in. That's not us. What have people on the right been saying? The law matters. This is the time when it makes a difference, and this is the time when you must stand up for the Constitution. Before our country was a country, we had the Boston Massacre, and our founders knew this before the Constitution. 2 years after the British sent royal troops to help enforce the tax burden that, kind of looking familiar now, the tension finally culminated in a protest that ended with 5 American colonists being shot and killed by British soldiers. Well, Americans said they started it. The soldiers saying, no, something happened. We reacted. It was a mistake. Well, they couldn't find anybody willing to defend the Brits until John Adams. John Adams agreed to do it. If Gallup was polling in 1770, which thank God it wasn't, this guy probably would have been the most unpopular man in the country outside of anybody from Great Britain. I mean, part of it had to do with the hair, I think. I mean, you could land a plane right there. But he didn't care. He didn't do it because it was easy. He didn't sympathize with the British. He did it because it was right. He defended them on principles, American principles. The principle of equal justice, not social justice. We would have had social justice. Oh, if we would have applied social justice, the Americans would have won. But they didn't use social justice. They didn't say, oh, but they're the oppressed and those guys are with the man. No. Equal justice. Adams was really unpopular, but it didn't last long. When the emotions of the incident subsided, actually it only took a couple of months, people began siding with Adams and his stand on principles, because principles matter. No matter what the people tried to get us to learn last decade, character does matter. Character, you know what? Character is like muscles. What happens when, you're not working out your muscles? What happens? You become weak, you become jello-y, rubbery, pathetic. I mean, they turn into you become weak, and it's like you're turning into a bowl of jello. Anyway, it's the same thing with character. We haven't been working on our character lately. Safety nets, coddling, bailouts, political correctness. Everybody gets a trophy. Purple pens for everybody. Don't make Johnny cry, not my kid. Our character is limp. Do you remember what was going on around, when was it? 2000? .com bubble had just burst. Pets.com, Forks.net, apparently not really worth $3 billion. Who would have seen this one coming? Our economy was weak. And then we were hit with 9/11. If you were listening to me back then on the radio, I told you about a year after 9/11, boy, guys, I see something wicked this way coming, because too many things are starting to come together. America has conquered big problems before. It's when people call me and say, oh, we're America, we've done everything before. No. We've conquered each of these problems individually, but never all of them at once. Every single sector, on everything, on every front, was being attacked. And I said, look out, this thing is rolling into shore. And it did. It hit us about a year and a half ago. We have enemies inside and outside. Either want to take America down a notch, fundamentally transform it, destroy it. I don't know if you've ever heard of this part part of special ops. I think they're called CAG. These are the guys that we send in to do things that nobody wants to do. This is like Mission Impossible. These are the guys suspended over computers. These are the guys that, and we did this in Russia, we send them in. We send them in when a country is about to be toppled. Soviet Union, we did it. I'm sure we did it in Poland. These are the guys who don't overthrow regimes. They just nudge. They help.